Hello and welcome back. This is video number 3 and we're going to talk about how to create a MySQL database. And then we'll talk about, in addition to that, how to insert data into a MySQL database, how to look at a database, and how to understand the basics of it so that if you ever need to do this in the future, you can. So when it comes to installing a MySQL database, it's actually a very easy thing to do. It's simply click, and a few clicks, and you're done. And I'll show you exactly the step-by-step process of doing that. However, that said, how do you go about inserting data into the database if you ever need to do that? Well, this is often underutilized, but needed in the long term whenever you're running your website. So with that said, let me go ahead and show you how. So to create a MySQL database, it's super easy. Let's start at the top. So make sure that you're logged into your cPanel, and what you want to do is scroll downwards and look for databases. If it's different, then basically what you want to do is look for the MySQL database wizard, and this will walk you through step by step. It's the easiest way to go. So first things first, click on this, and then it's going to ask you what you want to name your database. Now, this right here is going to be your domain name, so it's going to be different for different people, and you don't have to worry about that. So just enter a database name, so we'll say DB, and this could be anything you want. You just need to remember what it is. Click on next step. And then you want to create a username. So the username or the user has access to the database. So this is separate. So you're creating a username and then you're creating a separate database so that user has access to that user. All right. So let's put that in here. We'll just say user1. And then of course you want to do a password. And what I usually like to do is click on password generator, because then you choose a very complex password. So you can click generate password here. I'm going to pause this video right now and create a random password, and we'll copy it down here. So once you're done with that, you just click on the checkbox that says I have copied this into a safe place and I am ready to use the password, and then it automatically enters it here. So as you can see, it is a very strong password, and we click create user. The next step is step 3, is to add the user to the database. And to do that, all you have to do is click on all privileges and click next step. And that's it. So now what you need to do is, hopefully you have saved the password to a very safe place. Usually what I do is I open up Notepad and then I save it here. Now, in addition to that, I usually try to save this right here. So if you're installing a web script, typically what it'll do is it'll ask you for your database name. And the database name is the full text between these quotation marks. So I'm going to copy that over here. So that's the database name. So I usually do db equals this, and then the user equals this. And keep that in a safe place. So as you can see, that's how easy it is to create a MySQL database. Now what I want to do is click on return to MySQL databases. And if we scroll down, we can see that the database has been created. Now if I go back to the outside here, and I'm going to click on the logo, and that just brings me back to the home page. I'm going to go back down and look for PHP MyAdmin. What this allows you to do is it allows you to take a peek at the database itself. Now I will warn you, and I will say that do this very cautiously, because any mess up, you could potentially mess up your whole site. But I wanted to show you this because sometimes if you have basic detective skills, you'll be able to kind of get an idea of what's going on inside the database. So if you click on PHP MyAdmin, it'll open up and it will allow us to edit specific databases. Now, obviously, you want to find the database that you just named. So in this case, it was the DBase. So it's this one right here. And we can click on here. So we can see that there are no tables found. And the reason why is it's an empty database, right? But let's say, for example, that we choose a different database that has data inside of it. So what I've done is I've gone into a WordPress site database. In this case, I'm not going to show you the username and password on all that, but I want to show you some of the basics. So whenever you install a WordPress site, for example, it will have, install plugins and all of that. And sometimes you'll see plugin database tables inside of here. So sometimes you can actually edit the data that is inside of these tables. But if you're just curious, just come in and take a look and see what happens and see inside of it. Now, obviously, I would be very, very careful if you are editing a site that you really care about. But by doing this and just looking at it, not really changing anything, this really gives you an idea of what is happening on the back end of your website. And the reason why I'm showing this to you is because in the past I used to do this, and whenever I came across an error or maybe there was something on the site that I couldn't change on the front end, sometimes I would go on the back end, like right here, let's say WP comments, for example. You could see comments and all that here. So what I'm showing you this is you can actually replace existing data with data that you want. And just coming through here and being able to see what's happening on the back end really allows you to see what is happening in your site. Now, this is very useful just in case you get locked out, especially if you get locked out of your website and you have to change your username and password, but it just won't let you in. So what you could easily do is you could come down here and go under WP users and then just change the password inside here. So that's why I'm showing you this, is because there are potential opportunities in the future if something bad happens that you could potentially come in and get things fixed. But obviously, if you don't know what you're doing, then you will need to consult someone that does. But hopefully that gives you a better understanding on how MySQL databases work when you create them, and then when they begin to populate, everything happens right here.